All right, call to order. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10-4-10, and the regulations governing remote meetings, NJAC 539-1.5, I hereby announce that adequate notice and electronic notice of this meeting was provided in a notice dated January 24th, 2023, that was sent to the Asbury Park Press, Two River Times, posted on the bulletin board, and on the main access door to Town Hall, filed in the clerk's office, and posted on the township's website. Roll call.
Ms. Martin? Ms. Martin is absent. Mr. Ackerson?
Here.
Ms. LaMountain? Ms. LaMountain is absent. Mr. Fagan?
Here.
Mr. Mann?
Here.
Mr. Emma?
Here.
Mr. King?
Here.
Ms. Pelosis? Ms. Pelosis is absent. Mr. Silberman?
Here.
Ms. Polavina? Ms. Polavina is absent. Mr. Bell? Mr. Bell is absent.
Okay, at this time I ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence to honor our military, police, and first responders. Thank you. Okay, public hearing, item number 1. PB 2024-C, Washington Phillips LLC, 38 Line Road, Block 28, Lot 22, R40B zone. Preliminary and final major subdivision with associated bulk variances. Applicant seeks, excuse me, a preliminary and final major subdivision to subdivide the existing lot, 21.19 acres, into 3 residential lots. One flag lot containing 15.73 acres, containing the existing single-family dwelling. The 2 additional lots of 2.53 and 2.64 acres will have frontage on Line Road and will be developed in the future with single-family dwellings. Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Salvatore Alfieri, Cleary, Giacobbe, Alfieri, and Jacobs on behalf of the applicant.
Okay. Do we swear them in there?
So, Charlie, you said one witness, and we'll swear him in along with our professionals. When he swears to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. For the record, our professionals have been sworn. If you're ready, you can just state your full name and spell it to the record.
My name is Mark Zelina, M-A-R-K, Z as in zebra, E-L-I-N-A.
And Mark, would you please place your credentials on the record, please?
Yes, I'm Vice President of WJH Engineering, the engineering, the engineer for the applicant this evening. I'm a licensed professional engineer and a licensed professional planner in the state of New Jersey. I've testified before this board numerous times in the past, and as well as many other boards throughout the state of New Jersey.
Mr. Chair, we request, unless the board has questions of his credentials, that his credentials be accepted, please.
Any objections? Nope, that's fine.
So, just for the record, testifying as an engineer only or both capacities?
Both, please.
And we, before we begin with the technical aspects of the application, there was a completeness review prepared by T&M dated September 24th, and there are several completeness waivers that I'm not sure how you want to handle those. Do you want us to go point by point, or do you want to have your engineer comment on them?
Yeah, we're going to let the engineer comment on it.
Good.
Mr. Chair, good evening. Bob Euro, with T&M Associates. There we go. So my completeness letter dated September 24th, 2024. As you can see, there are approximately 26 items that are either been requested or waivers are required for this application. The application is unique in form in that they're just coming in for the subdivision only. They are not coming in with a site plan or any design plan, so there's no real grading plan, drainage, there's no proposed buildings, etc. And the majority of the waivers are associated with any kind of proposed design that would be required for this application. Your ordinance does allow you to come in with just for the subdivision itself, and that's what they're gonna be presenting this evening. I have no objection, and it's up to the board, to granting these waivers as itemized in my letter, subject to whenever a formal plot plan or site plan is prepared, that this information is so-called provided to the planning department and my office for review, and/or upon review of whatever information would be submitted, if we identify any further variances that may be required, that they would then be back before the board at that time. So we have no objection to the board granting these waivers, and then or deeming the application complete.
Okay, so the only thing we're really here to discuss is the subdivision of into 3 separate lots, right?
That is correct.
With
Okay.
the variances that they're asking for.
Right, okay.
Discuss, make sure everyone has an objection to the waivers, and then you do a motion to grant.
Okay, so, does anyone here have any problem with the waivers at this time? No? So, do I make a motion or
Yeah,
anyone?
you should make a motion to grant those waivers, subject to what Bob put on the record.
And also, during the course of the testimony, if you hear that you think you're missing something that you're granting a waiver for, you could always ask for it at that point.
Okay, anyone make the motion?
I'll make the motion.
Tom seconds, okay,
Tom, second?
yeah.
Okay, yeah, happy.
Mr. Atkinson?
Yes.
Mr. Fagan? Yes. Mr. Mann?
Yes.
Mr. Emma?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Silver?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Now we'll get into the technical aspects of the proposed subdivision. And Mr. Zelina, your office prepared the plans that have been submitted in support of the application, is that correct?
That is correct.
And you're going to have a few exhibits we're going to refer to?
I most definitely will.
All right, so why don't we pre-mark those so we can testify without interruption?
How many do you have?
Let's say 3. It's an optional one, but I don't think we'll get to it.
So we start with
You may want to coordinate, if that mic comes off,
P,
if he's gonna be standing, you may want to use that mic.
P1, Courtney, is that what we call it? P, A1. You have handouts still? Okay. We'll keep that in case we need it. Okay, Mark. So why don't we just run through each one, identify for the board identify the exhibit number and what it represents. And you have handouts of which one? The first one?
I have them all.
You have them all, okay. Would the board like to see the handouts?
Yes.
Yes.
There's two. Anybody want 'em? That's okay. Okay, so I just handed out an exhibit, Mark, that I marked as A1. Would you identify it, please?
A1 is an aerial photo of the project site. We've superimposed the layout of the project site. The dark white line is the outer boundary of the property itself. The dark gray lines in the middle represent the existing and proposed driveways. And then in and around the property, representation of the existing dwellings around the property, as well as the existing property lines of the lots surrounding the property as well.
When you
So, can I just, the yellow line is the boundary, right? yellow?
Well, it's a combination. If you look on the, say, the south side, it's actually in white, and then because of some superimposed yellow lines, it appears to be yellow. It's the widest line.
I
Oh.
get that point, but the white line is the subdivision.
Yes. Or no, it's the perimeter of the boundary.
Right, but you have the white line around the two lots immediately to the east, too.
The thicker white line is the boundary of the property, and there are some lighter white lines that are represented.
No, that's not what I'm looking at.
Okay.
These two lots.
Yes. Those are out, that's adjacent properties. That's not a part of this subdivision.
Okay,
But this represents the boundary. The thick white line represents the boundary of the property. Unfortunately, there's some yellow lines superimposed over the northern boundary, and then these are the two proposed lots are also
alright,
in white.
so it's not super clear.
My apologies.
So, for the record,
So,
Mr.
yeah,
Zeno, why don't you,
can you
unfortunately,
trace it?
trace it somehow with a pointer or your
Yeah.
finger?
Well, we could see the white boxes which designate the 3 proposed lots, right?
Like, that's not.
That's exactly correct.
Yeah, but I'm saying each lot has a boundary around it, so
Yep.
you could see that.
I don't know where best to stand out of the way here. But I can show the boundary of the project site is a thicker line. This portion of it is shown in yellow, and I'll explain that a little bit later. Then the white line along Line Road, the thicker white line along 2 existing residential lots that front on Line Road, and then the thick white line extends to the east towards the back of the property and wraps back around to the point of where we started.
And while you're tracing, you also mentioned the driveway existing and the proposed. Can you show if there's a difference, what it is?
Yeah, it's not obvious on this rendering. The proposed driveway runs between the 2 proposed lots. It appears, it's a straight portion of the driveway that comes out to Line Road. Beyond that, where it's a little circular in nature or curvilinear in nature, that's the existing portion of the driveway. The existing driveway through the front 2 lots is also curvilinear and winds around through the front of the proposed lots. It's just not clear on this drawing, but
So,
we can see it on some other exhibits.
Assuming if the board were to approve this application, which portion of that driveway is existing and which would be new?
The existing portion of the driveway runs east or along the back of the proposed lots. It's curvilinear in nature, runs back to, well, I'm pointing the existing house on the back of the property, right where my pointer is currently. The proposed driveway would be the straight portion of the driveway, or the straight line that I'm running, that runs between the 2 proposed lots, that basically constitutes the stem of the flag lot that we're requesting.
And then the existing
Approval.
driveway that connects the circular portion at the rear to Line Road would be eliminated?
It would be eliminated, yes. It runs roughly in this direction. You'll see the little whiter, the cleared area at the front that goes out to Line Road, runs across and up and around. That will be eliminated. So in essence, we're getting way ahead of ourselves a little bit, but we're proposing to demolish or remove some of the existing pavement associated with an existing driveway. And you'll hear later, we propose to eliminate or demolish an existing tennis court on a property. So by virtue of the proposed construction that we're proposing as part of this application, which is only the new driveway, there are no proposed structures, there's no proposed anything else but for the new driveway, there's no increase in impervious coverage. There's a net increase of perhaps 80 square feet in total over the course of 20 acres. So relatively speaking, as you know, some of the waivers that we asked for as it relates to stormwater management and calculations like that, that's part of the reasoning for those, because this subdivision as it's presented does not propose structures, roads, driveways, anything but the replacement of the existing driveway and the removal of the existing tennis court, which would interfere with one of our proposed property lines. So
Okay.
you got a big taste of what's happening. You want to talk about the others or just?
Yeah, you may as well just continue now. Tell me when you're ready for this, and I'll give it to you.
All right, just let me backtrack a little bit. As far as what the proposed site consists of right now. It's lot 22, block 28. It's known as 38 Line Road. It's on the west side of Line, actually it's on the west side of town, but it's on the east side of Line Road, kind of halfway between Deer Path and Van Brackle Road, if you're not familiar with exactly where the site is itself. It's 21.19 acres. It's a very, as I pointed out, it's a very irregularly shaped lot. I can't even describe it as a rectangle or circle or boot or anything like that. It's just a very irregular shaped piece of property that's been created by prior subdivisions years before any of our time here. It has 531 odd feet of frontage on the Line Road. It's located in the R40B single family zone. And you'll understand why that's important as we move through this. It's all bordered by residential properties currently developed, and it's a combination of both R40A and R40B zone. The kind of property, it's a mishmash. The zoning in and around it exists both as the smaller lots in the R40A zone and some of the larger zoning in the R40B zone. As we talked about, it's currently developed with a single-family dwelling. There's a detached garage, driveway, patio, and a pool. All that's anticipated to remain. There are no improvements proposed to that by virtue of this application. And we talked about the driveway. It's approximately 1,000 linear feet from Line Road to the existing residence at the rear of the property currently. The site's predominantly wooded. Some of this is obvious, but I just think I better put on the record, with some moderate to severe slopes. The central and the northwestern part of the site up closest to Line Road, some of the trees have been thinned and maintained as part of the existing homestead. Then there are some steep slopes on the site. We've identified those, and it's included as part of our plan set, but I'll present it as drawing A2 or Exhibit A2.
You just identify for the record what A2 is.
The exhibit's identified as steep slopes map. The actual steep slopes in the plan set are identified as part of the, I think, I forget what it's called now, but the environmental constraints plan. So there are some other environmental constraints as well. But for purposes of this presentation, I wanted to point out the steep slopes and where they exist on the property. There's essentially three shades of gray on the property. The darkest shade are the steepest slopes. The intermediate gray are the moderate slopes, or those slopes between 15 and 25%. And then the lighter gray are those between 8 and 15%. The ordinance in Holmdel identifies steep slopes as those that exceed 15%, and those are the ones that are the disturbance of those is controlled or reduced by the ordinance itself. Anything under 15% is not, what should I say? There's no restrictions by the ordinance as far as development on slopes less than 15%. So what's not on the plan, the environmental constraints plan that's in the plan set, is the proposed lot layout. What I've done is had the proposed lots and proposed driveway superimposed on the steep slopes plan here to show you how those two lots would exist, and that there are very little steep slopes that would encumber the two proposed lots itself. The third lot.
Can I just ask, was that submitted to us?
I'm sorry?
Was this plan submitted to us?
Yes, it's, no.
No, I understand the disturbance plan, but,
No,
okay.
that's a failing. I didn't realize that till I started putting the exhibits together today, that there is no plan in the plan set that shows the shaded slopes as well as the proposed lot lines. That's why I wanted to create that on the exhibit here this
Thank you.
evening. And what does exist there are some significant steep slopes along the southern end of the property that does impact the development potential there, and they have to be restricted and put into a conservation easement by your ordinance. While I'm talking about some of the environmental restrictions, there's a tributary to the Hot Brook along the southernmost property line. It kind of weaves in and over the property line itself. It's not on one property or other. But there are also wetlands associated with that, We've identified, there's a consultant that has identified the wetlands and made an application to the Department of Environmental Protection for a letter of interpretation to verify the limits of the wetlands that are shown on this plan. We understand that they've had verbal contact with the DEP, but we do not have affirmative, or we don't hold that permit in our hand as we're here speaking this evening. However, you'll see beyond the limits of those wetlands, we understand that there would be a 50-foot transition area buffer associated with those wetlands. That is proposed or shown on this drawing. Also, Holmdel has a stream corridor requirement. There's a 150-foot requirement for a stream corridor buffer. That too is shown on this drawing. And then beyond that, because of the C1, this tributary to the Hop Brook is tributary to a C1 waterway, we have a 300-foot riparian buffer associated with that stream. So thus, a significant portion of the property is encumbered by not only steep slopes, but also buffers associated with the stream and a tributary to the C1 stream as well.
Could you just point out to the board, you have the C1 line on there, the 300-foot line?
It runs right pretty much through the middle of the site, right towards at the back of the existing house and over to the western property behind some of the existing lots. So I think that gives us a good idea of the site and what it looks like and some of the environmental constraints that we're dealing with on the site. So the next question is, how do we develop something like this? And that's what's happened. When we were approached by this, we was like, wow, we looked at the tax map and said, wow, there's 22 acres of land here. It's in the R40B zone. The permitted density in the R40B zone is 0.4 dwelling units per acre. So if you were to just look at strictly the allowable density based on gross acreage, you say 0.4 times 21, you'd get like 8 lots. Well, that's kind of, right away, someone said, 8 lots on a piece of property like this, what's that worth in Holmdel? But unfortunately, due to the constraints that we just outlined, it greatly restricts the developable acreage, and there's no way 8 lots were possible in that. So the next question to us was, well, what can we do here? So we looked at a variety of layouts here. The very first one was a conventional subdivision. We try to put a cul-de-sac off a line road, a 50-foot wide right-of-way, 30-foot wide road, very typical of what we see along here. And we're trying to figure out how best to do this. And the best layout we came up with was a road right along the northern property line, kind of circled around, cut off the point here, and then tied back into this existing driveway here with a cul-de-sac near the existing residence. And I don't have an exhibit here for you, but I can testify that we can obtain 3 conforming lots with that. However, that would mean it would put a new road, a public road in that would be dedicated to the Township of Holmdel. It would require significant clearing and grading to put the road in, along with the infrastructure required to do that, and the driveways and the stormwater management and everything else like that. So we're thinking, is that the best we can do? So we started thinking about it, and then we said, gee, under the residential site improvement standards, they allowed for a rural lane or a rural street, which is a little less, it's more environmentally conscious than a big 50-foot wide right-of-way and 30-foot wide road. What that entails is a 40-foot wide right-of-way with an 18-foot wide pavement. So we said, wow, let's see if we did that in the exact same configuration along the northern boundary and out here, or out towards the existing resident. That would work, but we have the same problem. We'd have to do the grading and the clearing and associated with that. And plus, that would, I think, create a little bit of an impact to the neighbors to the north, in that we would provide for a buffer strip, but nonetheless, the road would be closest to those properties rather than anyone else on the property. So, back to the drawing board. How do we get 3 lots without creating all that impact to the property, and as well as creating the neighbors, or interfering with the neighbors? That's how we came up with the flag lot. Okay, well, we kind of got to the flag lot because we're thinking, if we could put a 40-foot wide right-of-way through here with the rural residential lane or the rural street, why not? I mean, we would do that. It'd be a dedicated road to the township and the likes. But why do all that and all the infrastructure associated with that when in our quiver, or we could think, even though it's not permitted in the R40B zone, we want to propose a flag lot. This way, what it would mean is we'd create 3 lots, all with individual driveways, The back lot would have a singular driveway, much like it does now, that would run through the 2 proposed lots out to Line Road. And then the 2 additional lots that would be developed in the future would also have singular driveways running out to Line Road. So there'd be no municipal road, no public road at all. There are only 3 driveways, independent, privately owned, going out to Line Road. That's how we arrived at the flag lot. Even though it's not permitted in the R40B zone, it is permitted in the R40A zone. And then, interestingly enough,
Mark, I'm just gonna stop you. Like, it's not permitted in this zone. I get it's permitted in the R40A. You're not in the R40A.
I understand that, but the municipal
And-
land use law understands that there's no 2 properties are alike, and the
I
zoning
agree, but my
regulations-
point is that you don't even comply with the requirements that we have for flag lots. The requirement is a 50-foot wide stem. You don't have that.
I understand that.
So, at some point, are you, like, what benefit are you giving us other than to give you an additional lot? So, I'm asking.
Well, first of all, I believe we can create 3 lots under the scenario that I talked about earlier, by putting a cul-de-sac along the northern property line and 3 conforming lots off of that with a public road.
It's not 3 conforming lots, because the flag lot is not conforming.
No, that's not what he said.
I'm talking in the alternate design proposal that we've looked at, that I'm using as, you know, I understand that it's not a permitted design principle in the
Yeah.
R40B zone. It is permitted in the R40A zone. And, by the way, and part of the reason why we have some yellow coloring here is that there's an existing flag lot bordering this property to the north, and there's another existing flag lot that runs out to Van Brackle Road.
Regardless.
I understand, but I have the opportunity to talk to the board about, we're presenting a development scenario that is not unique to this neighborhood. It will not impact the zone plan or the master plan, because basically we're kind of repeating what's already been done in this area. Not only this area,
And
but it's
so
also
here's
the,
my ask-
it's
here's my
also the
question.
R40B zone. This isn't unique to this zone.
So, do you have the information on when those lots were created?
I do not. But they,
So, no, so we do not allow this. You're asking us to say, in the area, there's things that have been allowed, but you don't have when they were allowed.
Well, I don't think his argument is that he's not arguing how they were approved. He's arguing that what we're proposing is not
No, he's
not
saying-
inconsistent with what's there.
Sal, he's saying they're there, and we should take those as, like, the like, information to allow this. My information is, or my question is, when was that approved? Because my position is this: we don't allow flag lots. That has been a scenario for years. So, when were those lots created? You don't have the information.
I know that they exist currently. And what my
understand
point,
that.
the point of
Okay.
reference isn't that we should be entitled to it because they exist, only that the development scheme that we're proposing is not unique to our property, but is consistent with the properties in and around our development.
Right, but my point is that if those lots were created and allowed 20 years ago, that doesn't have any implication on what's happening now, which is why I've asked, when were they approved?
But
Well,
Jen,
let
as a
me
planner-
jump in for a second here. Yeah, I think past events are irrelevant right at this moment. So let's not use the past events to substantiate what you want to
Exactly.
do in the future. Just talk about what you want to do and why you want to do it, and then we'll make a decision based on,
But just to be clear, he's not saying the past events are relevant to his application. He's only saying that by introducing this flag lot, it's not inconsistent with what's out in the field. It doesn't matter how they were approved. But we can move past that, but that
yeah,
was
but
the
I'm saying,
purpose
yeah,
of-
whether or not it's inconsistent with what's in other areas shouldn't really matter. We analyze each case on an individual basis, right? So let's not point to other areas that may or may have gotten it. Let's just talk about this
That's
particular
part
one.
of, what we're getting at. The municipal land use law allows for this board to grant variances. They recognize that not every property is the same, and not all ordinances are applicable to every property, that you have the ability, based on the testimony that we're going to provide you, to grant variances for deviations from your ordinances. Because what may, in fact, be true is that this development with a flag lot and 3 lots may be better than an alternative where we came in with a regular cul-de-sac and 3 lots.
Well, that may be true, and
Okay.
I'm not saying that's not. I'm just saying none of us here don't know what the circumstances were for those other ones that may have been granted.
It's immaterial.
It's right, it's immaterial. We're gonna focus on this particular lot, and you can explain to us why you feel you're entitled to a
What I'm
variance.
trying to explain is that there isn't a house that exists on that flag lot with a development pattern with a driveway out to Line Road. So that if I were to do a similar lot that goes out to Line Road, it's not unique to this area. I'm not going to impair the zone plan or the master plan or anything by trying to introduce something that's so rare to this neighborhood that's going to impact the value of all the surrounding properties. It's not, because there are surrounding properties that are exactly the same type of development pattern as what we're proposing here. So that should be a part of your consideration when saying, gee, maybe they are entitled to a variance because.
So that's why I'm kind of engaging with the history that you're providing. It's irrelevant to this.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you could legitimately provide a conforming 2-lot subdivision, correct?
I could do a 3-lot subdivision.
No.
I could.
Not with the flag, no?
Not with the flag, but I could do a cul-de-sac, show you a cul-de-sac plan with 3
Okay, but my
conforming lots.
point is that what you're proposing is not conforming, correct?
Jen, that's why we're here.
So
That's why
you could provide a 2-lot subdivision based upon the existing access to that area and a new lot.
But
That's not
I-
what we're hearing.
But I guess-
What we're hearing is a non-conforming flag lot, which we don't permit, to allow for an additional lot.
Right, or the alternative is, if the board wanted to see it, we would come in with a conforming subdivision with a new public street, cul-de-sac, and 3 lots. And if that makes the board and the board professionals happy, we think it's worse planning than what we're proposing, but if that's what the board and the professionals want, we would consider it, but
We
it's.
haven't seen
So,
it.
so Scott, at this point, we have to let the witness finish. I mean, everything Jen said is accurate, but the board has the right to grant variances if they believe his credibility and all the testimony to negative and positive criteria, are verified. Now, I'm not saying they're gonna be, but let's let him finish, and,
Look,
and let's get this
you
out of
know,
the way, and.
I agree. I mean, that's why we have variances, because you want to do something that's not conforming. So that's why we have these hearings, to hear his side, hear our professional side, and to discuss it amongst ourselves.
And you
So-
may ask for some form of a plan to see what that alternative would look like and let the professionals look at it. I'm not saying you want
Right.
to or not, but those are all things, but I think we can't get there unless we let him
Yes,
finish
I-
and
I
then go
agree.
to our professionals and let them give you, we already read their letters, obviously, but
Okay.
let's
That's
get
fair.
there.
Okay, so, Mark, you may proceed.
We covered a lot. So, a little anticlimactic here. Anyway, just for the record, the existing lot serviced by public water has an existing septic system associated with it. There's underground gas, electric cable lines that run from Line Road out to the existing house. They are flagged in the field currently, if anyone wanted to go see where they are. That's what we would propose for the 2 new lots that would front on Line Road. They would have public water, electric, gas, and septic systems for their sewage disposal. We've done test pits on both of those lots. We found favorable soils on both of those lots that we understand will support the construction of a septic system on each lot. Both of those lots exceed the minimum lot requirements. They exceed all the bulk variances as it relates to width, depth, area. They're minimum of 108,000 square feet. Well, the first one's 110,000. The second one's 115,000 square feet. So I have to tell you, that kind of brings us to where we are.
So you had a third exhibit, if you want to show it.
It was, it kind of
Okay.
had the buffers and everything I had shown on it. So, really, we've kind of gone over what's material to this very irregularly shaped piece of property that's severely encumbered by environmental constraints, steep slopes and the like. It leaves approximately half of the lot developable along the northern property, end of the property, which, in part, there's two types of C variances which Jen had identified. There's a C1, which is justified when there's a hardship confronting the developer because of exceptional narrowness, shallowness, shape, or exceptional topographical conditions of the site. Well, I would opine that almost all of that exists on this property. It's a very exceptional shape, and we talk about the steep slopes on the site, so we're limited as far as what can be developed on a site. A site that has an allowable density of 8 lots where we're coming to you, and granted, notwithstanding, you can't do 8 lots here. I'm not trying to say that, but I'm talking about the relativeness of what we're proposing here is 3 lots, well below the allowable density in the zone here, which permits a larger number of lots than what we're seeking. We're only seeking 3 lots, and what we think is in a different kind of a better development pattern than if we came in with a conventional subdivision and public street with it.
Mark, I have a question. The acreage on the southern part of the site within the 300-foot riparian buffer, that's the slope, as it stands right now, is that off limits for development?
By your ordinance, it would have to be included in the conservation easement, yes.
Thank you.
And we're not certainly proposing anything to be done there, so yes.
So if it was to be developed, you'd have to come and put your plans, and we'd have to go through the whole process for that acreage that's within that buffer.
Yeah, and it can't be developed.
It'll
It
be
can't
part
be.
of the conservation. It was approved. It can't be developed anyway.
Right, it can't be.
But the regulations talk about it putting on a conservation easement. We understand that.
We have to do that.
We've done that before, and we'll do it again. So, there's a C1 variance. We have a very, unique piece of property here. It's very unique in its shape and by its topography. And then the C2 variances, are justified when the purpose of the MLUL would be advanced from a deviation from the bulk requirements, and the benefits of the variance outweigh any detriment to the public good. I would opine that the purpose E, which would promote the establishment of appropriate population densities, we're certainly well within the appropriate population density, and the concentrations that will contribute to the well-being of persons, neighborhoods, communities, and regions, and the preservation of the environment. Again, I'll go back to where I think the development of a flag lot with individual driveways to the street would create far less impact to the environment, less trees being taken down, and less grading to the site, and the associated stormwater management improvements would have to be made to that, where I think that this is a positive and certainly benefits the preservation of the environment. And then this proposal also, limits the environmental impacts consistent with the surrounding density of the development. Again, I'm not saying that anything that's been done in the past is right or wrong, but the fact of the matter is that it exists today, the development pattern exists today, and we're not doing anything that's contrary to that by our proposal. So, with all that said, and I said that before, then the granting of these variances will not impact or damage the character of the surrounding neighborhood, nor will it impair the intent of the master plan or the zoning ordinances. We're well below the allowable density, and we're also providing for what is a reasonable development pattern. However, but for it not being permitted in the R40B zone, but in the R40A, it is permitted in the R40A zone, which does surround part of this site. We're asking for these variances. And so it's my opinion these variances could be granted because the benefits of granting them outweigh the detriment associated with the proposals.
Now, a couple follow-ups. First, in the T and M report, there's a discussion about a tree location. It's F2 of the report. I don't know if you want the report in front of you.
Yeah, there are approximately, say, 6 trees that would have to be removed but to reconstruct a new driveway.
And the request was to make sure they appear on the plan ultimately.
They are surveyed, they just don't appear clearly on the plan that's presented here, but
Okay,
yes.
and then the other question is, are we proposing, and I guess we could defer to Bob on this, assuming it approved, whether it be perfected by deed or plat, we would conform with whatever T and M suggests, is that correct?
That is correct.
I think we may, you know,
There's one other one that, I don't know if it's involved in Jen's letter, it has to do with curbing and sidewalks along the street frontage. And we've done development here in Holmdel before. If it's requested, it's certainly, the applicant has indicated they would provide curbing and a sidewalk along the line road frontage. However, is none currently exists, certainly not to the north and not for quite a while to the south. So we understand if we don't construct it, then the contribution would have to be made to the township sidewalk fund.
and we would defer to the board on that point.
Absolutely.
I think that concludes our presentation.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to ask is, people come in here and they always explain how these variances would benefit us. But I'm kind of curious how it benefits you. I mean, you're not just doing this for the goodness of your own heart to benefit us. But what you're saying you could build 3 homes on that parcel of land conforming, right?
We can construct a public right-of-way with a cul-de-sac along the northern property line.
I'm just saying, you're proposing 3, there's an existing residence and 2 new ones, right?
That is
You're
correct.
saying you could build 3 new residences?
No,
or-
I don't mean to imply that at all. It would be 2 new, any proposal that we're discussing here this evening has to do with 2 new residential lots and the existing one, lot for the existing residential development.
Right, so either way, there's gonna be 1 existing home and 2 new homes.
Absolutely,
Right, so
yes.
you can do 1 conforming, and then the other one is based on this variance you're requesting.
That is correct.
So, question is, for me, to simple terms, like, how does,
No,
granting the variance,
2 new homes.
yeah, 2 new homes, 1 existing home, that's what he's,
No, so 1 is existing, 2 new.
Yes.
right.
Okay.
In all proposals. What I
both
didn't mean to
proposals,
imply
right.
that there's 3 new homes or 3 new lots. There's 3 new lots, but one of those lots will contain the existing residence.
I just wanna make sure it's not 1 new home, it's 2 new.
2 new homes, that's the way I
Yeah.
understand it,
Yeah.
right? Okay. So my thing is, like, I need to understand why you wanna do it non-conforming versus conforming. Like, how does that benefit you? And I'm trying to understand how the 2 options benefit the town by granting you that. Well, let them just,
Well, but you know what, I go through this and we look at a development scenario and we can put in, you know, the first one is the very typical standard residential development with a public street, a 50-foot, well, we still wouldn't propose a 50-foot wide right-of-way, but it nonetheless would be basically a 1,000-foot long cul-de-sac with, and again, depends on this board, whether it has curbs and sidewalks. We would propose, regardless of how we did it, it would be under the rural residential standards where it would only be a 40-foot wide right-of-way with an 18-foot wide pavement. But then, now you understand that you're gonna have 3 lots, an existing one and 2 new lots, all accessing that limited 18-foot wide pavement and all exiting out to 1 intersection on Line Road. As opposed to this development, which in my opinion is superior in that I'm not providing public right-of-way, I'm not doing a street that the town now has to own and maintain, and I have individual driveways coming out to the to Line Road where each homeowner is responsible for their own driveway coming out to the street. So it's not all township benefit, it's not all private benefit. I think it's a mutual benefit here where it's a kind of a different development pattern that is not unique to the township in that the flag lots are permitted elsewhere. It's just, you know, there's for some reason, and I can't explain it, nor do I want to, why it's not permitted in this zone. It's still a rural development pattern. We're not asking for an increased density. I mean, our density is extremely way below what's permitted here. Like I said, you know, the density allows 8 lots. We're talking about 3.
yeah, look, you know, you sit here and you talk to us about all these other lots that have similar construction. Now, if we were to approve something like this, then the next guy that comes in here could say, well, you just approved a similar construction for another another project.
Nope,
and-
you know, every project has to stand on its own
Right,
merit.
but
Exactly.
that's not what
Yeah.
happens,
Yeah.
correct?
Right. So
you know what,
that's
I've
why
done-
that's why I'm trying to understand a little bit, like, in The Godfather, they said, "What did I do to deserve such generosity?" Right? Like, so,
Play-
what did
play
we
in
do
reverse.
here with what's the benefit? I'm just trying to understand why wouldn't you guys just build something that's conforming and we wouldn't have to sit here tonight? Like, why is it?
Well, if it was a two-lot subdivision, we wouldn't be here, right? I mean, we'd be here for a subdivision,
Right.
but we wouldn't be here for the variance.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I'm
asking.
just trying to
Correct.
understand. I'm just trying to understand myself.
No, I agree.
But let
Yeah.
me,
Well, let's just let him speak a little.
no, I understand the thought process here, like, oh, we're coming in, we're asking for something we're not entitled to. But on the other hand, is it bad? I mean, I'm coming to you saying, as a planner, engineer, who does this in throughout the state of New Jersey, I don't see, why is this a bad plan? With or without the variances, it's like, geez, it's a flag lot, there's no impact to the municipality as it relates to any road maintenance, any stormwater maintenance, anything like that. I have 3 private lots, 3 private driveways that come out to Line Road.
And Mark, I don't think the question is whether it's a bad plan. The question is this a better plan than the conforming plan?
Yeah,
And
look,
your opinion is
yeah.
it is.
And I just need to know why. I mean, I just hear talking about this plan, but I need to know from you. You're the planner. You came up with this conceptual idea of what you want to do. I need to know why that's better for your client and why that's better for us.
You know what's gonna happen? If we were to develop in this scenario, we're gonna have 2 big new houses on 2 lots along fronting Line Road. And your engineer will confirm that we have to provide stormwater management for those, because ultimately, the pavement associated with that's gonna exceed 10,000 square feet, and we're going to provide detention. That detention is gonna fall on a private lot, which our private homeowner is gonna be responsible for owning and maintaining in perpetuity. If a public roadway goes in there, now the stormwater management system becomes a public system that the town now has to own and maintain. And that's law. You can ask anyone here. That's not our responsibility. It's been proven. So is that better for the town? I don't think so. So it's a win-win. I'm not saying it's better or worse for us, but I think it's like, okay, it's worse for my clients and the homeowners, because now they're going to have individual stormwater management systems on their lots. Okay, is that good? I don't like it, but that's the DEP requirements and the town requirements. That's what we have to do. But if I put in a road and a public system, I could put a public detention basin there, and you can tell them, the town has to own and maintain it. So there's, it's not all good, it's not all bad. The unique part of this whole thing is it's a variance, and it's not permitted in this R40B zone. So I have to come to you with a variance application, which you're permitted by the municipal land use law to grant, because not every piece of property is the same and can fit in a box that the town say
No, we
fits in
know
our
it.
ordinance.
We understand our role here. I'm just trying to become educated on your intentions here to make sure that we come to a group decision with, what's the right word here? I've had a long day myself here, but,
I understand. I understand.
yeah, with all considered, thank you, Martin. All right, so, does anyone else have anything? Because, look, honestly, I don't even know if I've gotten the answer to my question, to be honest with you. Maybe I do need to see both plans and maybe have some sort of detailed understanding of costs and everything, how it benefits the town versus, so we can make an educated decision
I have a question.
on that. Yeah, Wes.
So I'm looking at the 200 feet adjoining owners. I see 1320, 2822 Q Farm. James Manzo is the owner of that.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. Where is it?
I'm sorry, where?
Where, the
This is his
property
property.
is a farm.
No, it's farmland assessed. not-
It's farmland assessed.
Yeah, and I don't,
How does
I
that
think it's a
work?
woodland management plan. They're not, it's not,
Okay.
which, whether we like it or not, the law allows you to come up with a plan to remove trees and replace them over time and get farmland assessment.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, this property, so don't they like cut out a section and say, this is the house and then this is the rest of it?
Yeah.
I don't
That's what
see
you saw
anywhere
there.
on these plans it was disclosed
Well,
as
that's,
the farm.
because it's not relevant to the zone.
Irrelevant.
Wes, that's a
Irrelevant.
different issue. That's for tax purposes, but irrelevant to this. He'll lose that if this gets approved.
Is that true?
If he doesn't have enough acreage, if he doesn't have enough
Well, he'll
acreage,
certainly lose it for the two new homes.
right.
Whether he could preserve it for the larger tract, I don't know.
Wait a minute. So I
the two new,
understand,
you have to have 5 acres dedicated at least, and obviously the 2 new lots, he'd lose it for that, and have to pay rollback.
he wouldn't even own it, right?
Somebody, whoever owns it, but
It wouldn't be
once he
farmland.
files it,
It's
he'd
not a
he'd
farmland.
lose the
But
farmland assessment.
the existing property would remain a farm, assessed,
If it
right?
qualifies.
It's big enough.
If it qualifies.
We don't know what, we don't have the parameters of what's qualified to make that farmland assessment, but that's not really relevant for the zoning determination.
Think about it, it's gonna be impacted by conservation easements and things that may not exist on
They
the property
need 5
today.
acres plus 1.
Right.
Which they have, right?
Yeah, but I think he's, and the witness is
Yes.
right, I think some of the conservation area may be excluded from that, so, you know, again, not our, that's beyond our jurisdiction, but interesting question, but it doesn't impact, I guess, our ultimate
The end
decision.
result is there'll be two lots that clearly will not have farmland assessment, and will have to pay a rollback tax to the town for the elimination of the farmland assessment.
What I understood on the proposition to create one lot, that is, one lot that's to the left of the driveway, and then not have that second new lot, that would be all conforming, right? Everything, you could create, first of all, would you have to come here?
Yes, we have to, for a subdivision, we have
They
to
would
come
have
to the
to
board.
come here, but yes, you're right. If there wasn't that lot to the right of the proposed driveway,
Right.
and it was to maintain the existing driveway and
Yes.
then create that one lot,
Yes,
it would be conforming, 100%.
okay. The written summary talked about it's a bad idea to create non-conforming lots.
I agree.
That was a question.
That was your summary.
That was me. In my letter, I don't advocate the creation of non-conforming lots. I don't. As a planner, I don't advocate it, so.
Now, there's various reasons something can be a non-conforming lot. In this case, we're
100%.
talking a flag lot. Is there something specific about a flag lot that makes it not
Well,
desirable, let's say?
because it's not, there's no hardship associated with it, right? So if they created one additional lot and kept the mother lot with the existing access, there would be no variances associated with it. So they're advocating creating a nonconformity to create an additional lot, and that's not what I would consider good planning.
Okay. I was struck initially when I saw the plan that you had such a large remainder, the mother lot, I guess you'd say. My question, Jen, or if this were granted, and first of all, we agree nobody's living in the house now?
Yes.
You've seen the house?
Yes.
Okay. You've seen the house?
Yeah.
So it seems to me there's a certain amount of neglect that's happening here. I don't know why, I don't care why. But to the extent that, what if, after this was granted, access was granted from Van Brackle through acquisition of another property or a combination with another property to gain access to the remainder mother lot and then further subdivide this? Is in the realm of possibility? And I say that because of the size of the remainder, the fact that you are permitted 8 homes.
No.
Oh,
No,
I
not
keep hearing you
permitted,
say
I'm just
it.
saying, under the permitted density in the
Yes,
zone,
yes,
where it's, that's all.
yes.
When I first look at a piece of property,
Sure.
I look at a tax map, I don't understand all the environmental constraints, zoning constraints, things like that. So I turn to the zoning ordinance, what's in the R40B zone? The allowable densities, 0.4 units per acre, 28, so multiply it out. So I just put that out there as it's a part of consideration here. We're not trying to be greedy and get a lot more than we're entitled to here. We're creating, and again, we're going past.
But to respond to your question, all that land to the right of the plan can't be disturbed, so
This will be all concept.
So-
getting access to Van Brackle doesn't accomplish anything, really.
So I'm looking at like, lot 281501. Alta Asset Management owns it. I don't know who they are. But that's a fairly substantial piece of property that, almost adjoins this. That's, lot 1501.
Lot 20 adjoins Van Brackle. This one.
1501.
Yes, 20 does. 19.
So I think what Wes is getting at, if that property became up for sale, lot 20, and you could connect it to the existing flag, proposed flag lot, would that not be a
Fair game.
fair game for more houses?
For an application before this board? Let's see what that lot's zoned.
Lot 20.
Yeah, that's similarly zoned in the R40B, so right now it's a non-conforming lot. I don't think it's a conforming lot. It might be undersized as it now sits. But,
So Ron, you could always, if you were acting favorably, you could do some form of deed restriction too, if that was a concern. I'm not saying you're acting favorably, but you could solve that problem. Ask him to agree to a condition, deed restrict, but if that came before us in the future, somebody in theory could come before us, and they'd have the right to seek a new subdivision, but they are restricted by that huge conservation easement, which doesn't go away once it's identified.
That's where you're going, right, Wes?
So, well, the back of the question is that the house is in total disrepair. There's nobody in there. And you've got the pool and part of the house that's within the 300-foot buffer also. So, as if somebody were gonna maybe remediate that by removing the house. I don't know.
we'd have to deal with that. And I don't know what the rules are as it relates to some existing disturbance within that buffer. That would
Okay.
have to be
Okay.
researched before we certainly
But
go forth with
And
any.
the developer, assuming this were approved, is buying the entire parcel, so they would renovate that existing house to sell it as well. It's not something that they're gonna live in, they're gonna develop and sell 3 houses.
In your conforming proposal, where you move the road to the north, create a town-owned road. So I understand that. You would still, the proposal would be to have the 2 lots on Line Road.
No.
Oh, okay, tell me how that would work again. The road to the north.
Got it here somewhere. Basically, if there were a new road coming, in general that direction, they would front on the new internal roadway. Because of the lot depth required, I don't have the ability to front one on Line Road and one on the new cul-de-sac, say. I have the ability to front 2 new lots on the cul-de-sac, and then the remainder of the existing lot at the end of the cul-de-sac. I basically create a cul-de-sac right at the end of that, where that driveway loops around, with a cul-de-sac going through along the northern part of the property, with 2 lots fronting on the internal roadway itself.
So they would back up to Line Road, the house.
The side of the,
Side.
this would be a side lot of this corner lot. So it would front on the new road, and then this would be a side.
So one, I got it.
And so then, if that happened, would we be involved in variances here?
Potentially not. In my initial layout, I believe I have a conforming plan.
But then again, you're talking about creating a road that the town is responsible for.
Do they do private roads, Marty? Can they do private?
Line road.
I- I mean, look, I'm doing something in the city now where the whole community owns the road. They maintain the road. It's not a mapped road per se, but it's something that the people who abut the road can maintain.
We did approve a 3-lot on Holmdel Road across from the old small Bell Works building, or the Bell Lab
Yes.
building. That is a private road. Different scenario, obviously different facts, but that,
Right, but, an application that has, access to something that's not fronting a public road, that's a totally different variance,
Correct.
right? It's a MLU of it,
Right, it's planning variance.
yes.
Right, but the board, if we came in with a conforming subdivision, the board cannot compel us to take the control of the road. The town has to, unless we voluntarily do it, offer it to maintain privately. But
Yeah, no, I'm,
it's a different variance. If we don't front on a public street, if that's a private street, then those internal,
It's a
Lots
different-
become
It's
a
a different variance type, right?
so yeah, it's a planning variance, it's not a C variance, it's a I forgot the number, 56 or 65.
Section 61 or something like that.
We do those too.
There's a section of the MLUL that requires them to get a variance different from an C variance, right?
Correct. But we're not talking, we don't wanna do that.
We're not there. But basically, we have 3 lots that conform.
Uh,
and all
um,
the-
yeah,
the-
I guess-
Don't conform.
The lots themselves, in terms of the.
Lot
I'm
area.
sorry. Well, no, all the
Area,
bulk
yes.
requirement, area, size, and whatnot, but what doesn't conform is the access, the flag aspect of the rear lot. I apologize, you're right, that rear lot doesn't conform by nature. It does have enough, the appropriate, the required lot area at the end of the flag that's required.
So can I ask you a question? Why didn't you guys give the flag 50 feet width?
I don't
Like,
have,
you have the frontage
no, I don't.
on both of the other lots. Technically, okay, so we don't allow a flag lot in this zone. But in the other R50A zone, we do allow it, but we require 50-foot frontage. They're at 40 feet.
Jen, I could tell you the answer to that.
Okay.
Basically, it has to do with the frontage along Line Road. I have the ability to have the frontage for, the lot width and the lot depth for 2 conforming lots, but I don't have an extra 50 feet for the flag between those 2 lots.
You do in the frontage, you don't have it in the width, right?
That is correct. That is correct, because the frontage is significantly less than with this.
Correct. So the
Now-
frontage is 140 feet
And the width is
and the
250.
width is 250.
Now, I can,
So-
if it were permitted, we could get around that by providing for an easement on one of the properties and allow for would in essence be a 50-foot access easement, 40-foot actual and then 10-foot on one side to provide a 50-foot wide flag.
But we typically, first of all, we don't allow flag lots in the zone. Yes.
That's true.
I get it, right? I get it.
We're not arguing
And
that.
then it's, if we did, the width of the stem needs to be 50 feet. They're not giving us 50, they're giving us 40. So, I get that the lot that it's serving is well in excess of whatever, but the stem is not conforming. We don't allow flag lots in the zone. If we said no to the extra lot and we gave them 1 lot plus this, there'd be no variances required.
see, when I read the definition of variance, it says the hardship due to blah, 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 topography and everything. You're telling me that if we didn't give you this, you could still provide
Now,
2
first of
other
all,
lots. So
Yeah.
there's no real hardship. It's not something that you can't do because of the topography.
But
It's
he
something you
gave-
just want to do.
But he
They
gave,
don't wanna pay for it.
he gave justification under C2, which is not a hardship also.
I understand.
Yeah.
I'm not, first of all, I don't want to come here, I'm not threatening that. I'll
No, no,
turn-
I'm just trying to
saying,
understand,
In
that's all.
terms of laying out the plan, we're not coming here thinking that we're entitled, this development scheme is going to get us 1 extra lot, because there are alternate development schemes, call it whatever. It sounds bad, but there's alternate development patterns where I can get the same number of lots. I don't know whether it makes sense financially or not, that's not me, I'm just a planner and engineer. So I can grade the heck out of it, I can do the stormwater management for it, and I know all the rules as it relates to the development of it. But, you know,
Yeah.
and
Jen-
to mitigate what you're saying, if for some reason the board felt inclined to approve a flag lot, but were uncomfortable with the idea that the stem wasn't 50 feet, we would propose to mitigate it by providing for an easement along one of the properties for the additional distance or width that we
Easement
need.
is not property. You would have to be a dedicated, which would create an issue with one of those lots on the width.
Correct.
So easement does not satisfy the issue.
Well,
So at the end of the day, it's, you can provide an additional lot here and provide access to the back lot, which is, larger, with 2 lots. 3 lots creates variances that, quite frankly, I'm not 100% sure are legitimate. Like, it's up to you guys, but from a planning perspective,
Yeah, when you
there's
say,
no justification.
you say the stem, Jen, you talk about just the driveway itself?
So the stem should be 50 feet wide.
Yeah.
Jen, can I speak to that point for a moment?
Yeah, I just want to say real quick that,
In a minute,
just one,
in a minute.
Just, if I'm reading this right, because I went on the zoning, and I think you wrote it's 126A2, and I think that's C3. You think it should be C3, unless I'm reading it wrong? It says the access drive has a width at the street line and along its full length of at least 50 feet, right? Is that the one we're talking about?
Yes.
Right. Okay, so the way I read that means the full length of the driveway,
Should
not
be 50 feet
50
wide.
feet, yeah, okay. Okay, all right. Bob, you got anything you're awfully quiet over there. Do you have anything to add to this? or chime in?
I believe this is pretty much a planning discussion. My concerns, as I mentioned earlier with the completeness, there's not much technical design. So really, I'm gonna be involved if and when plot plans start to get developed, to depend how big of a structure, hardscape, et cetera, and that's where my concerns are gonna come in. It's noted in my letters that, though there are coverages that are permitted, up to, I think it's 15% lot coverage, until I see something other than a box. They usually come in with a box, but then when the actual plan comes in, that
Okay.
house has grown
On the new lots.
on the new lots,
Yeah.
on the new lots, not the existing, not the mother lot. Then you're gonna have driveways, circular driveways, hardscape, pools,
Pool,
tennis courts, whatever
Yeah.
else. That's where my concerns are gonna come in, should this be approved by the board.
I guess the other thing for me is trying to understand, Jen, why are flag lots okay in one zone versus this zone? Like, besides putting aside what the rules say, I'm just trying to understand what's the
so I
intent.
can't answer that. That has been a consistency for years upon years upon years. It was allowed in the R40A forever, definitely not allowed in the R40B for a long time. I mean, Marty, how long? Like, forever.
We've had a couple of these.
So my question is, kind of off of that, is looking at the map that's provided on the plans, the R40A is just north of this site, and the R40A is just south of this site. So this happens to be
I get it.
the only section here of R40B. So why is that?
I mean,
Why would it be why would there be zoning around it that's allows that, which looks like it's more developed? And-
this lot is gigantic, and so it's not like it's like one tiny itty bitty lot in the R40B. It's consistent if you carry it down, and that's a governing body question. We don't generally opine on what a site is zoned. But I will tell you that in my years of working for the town, and you and I have seen a number of proposed flag lots.
Yep.
When it's not permitted, we don't generally allow it, correct?
True.
Historically, people have come in, asked for relief, and our experience has been, we have not allowed it, correct?
I have not been involved in flag
So,
lot.
so Jen, this would be a flag lot, and it's a non-conforming lot, and you clearly don't like that. But the question is,
Wait, I'm sorry, Ron.
I was just, on the surface, it looks to me like we're talking about two new houses versus one,
Correct.
and the issue would be the 10-foot stem. That would be the variance, right? He wants
So,
40
yes.
feet versus 50 feet.
Well, it's not permitted regardless.
Right, but
Yes.
you're against approving non-conforming lots. I get that, there's a reason for that.
Correct.
And you don't like flag lots, I get that. But on its, again, on the surface, if they were to do the conforming 2 lots with the public road, it seems to me that that's then on the town, even though that would be conforming. So
Agreed.
for a 10-foot variance for the stem, seems to me like versus 1 lot versus 2 lots, from an economic point of view of the developer, it doesn't seem, because the lot is, the flag lot in the back is there already. We're just cutting it up to make it a flag lot, right?
Kind of, because if you look at the existing, the driveway comes down, so that existing, the proposed lot, this one, what's this one?
2202.
2202, the one that's like to the right of the plan, right?
Yeah, 20.
That's where the existing driveway is.
Correct.
I got it.
So the extra lot to the left, which is 2203, that would be conforming. So I get it. And the issue becomes if they give us the 50 feet, right? And so I get, like, let's get over the flags are not permitted, right? If they give us a 50 feet, which I'm not an advocate of allowing a flag lot that's like not compliant. But then the one lot, which has got to be this one, right? 2202, will not comply with the width. So that lot is going to be non-compliant.
All right, let me just say this for everyone. The way I read this, I have the zoning up. It says flagged lots are permitted only in the R48 district and shall have access only to an improved new secondary local street. The purpose of this district is to allow flag lots as part of major subdivisions in limited circumstances. So it doesn't say absolutely no. It says in limited circumstances as the exception, not the rule. So it's certainly something that is to be considered. But what it says is to gain access to difficult portions of a tract. That's basically why it's saying if you have to provide a flag lot, the only way you really get that permission in the other lots is because you have challenges to get access. So, I mean, there is access there now. I mean, the only reason this makes it a flag lot is if the street came down straight.
Because of the extra lot.
Right.
If they didn't have that third lot and they only had the extra one lot, it would not
But
be
if,
considered
but Jen,
flag
if their street came down instead of between the 2 houses, but further north or south, and it wasn't between the 2, would that still be deemed a flag lot?
Yes,
Yeah.
because right now they have access to Line Road. It's that extra lot that they're asking for that's creating the flag lot. If they didn't have that one extra lot, that they would have, this would not be considered a flag lot because it's going to be conforming with the width and whatever. It's the addition of that one extra lot that's creating this issue.
Or if we install the street, then it's not a flag lot.
Right. But I was just wondering if this,
Agreed.
I'm just looking into, the language of the code and the.
Right,
I-
as they're
yeah.
proposing it right now,
Yeah.
it's because of that one extra lot, 2202. If that lot wasn't proposed, it was just the one lot on the left of it, and the lot, the driveway was reconfigured in a minor way, they'd have more than enough frontage, more than enough width, it would not be considered a flag lot. It's the addition of that one extra lot. If they did add, and I agree with Sal, if they added the driveway or the road, right, Sal, we would not be here, right?
Well,
We'd be here, but not asking.
yeah, but I'm saying,
Correct.
do you have, can I see your pointer for a second, Mark? You got that laser pointer?
Keep-
Away, I don't know where I keep putting it.
Oh.
Cover your eyes.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, Right now, over there, the street goes through here, and that creates our flag lot. If both properties were moved together and the street came straight down there, would that still be considered a
But when
flag
you're
lot?
saying street,
The driveway.
yes,
If the drive,
we need 250 feet of width on the road, on lined road, and if we don't have 250, then it's gonna create a flag lot essentially. Or, yeah, I guess if we had 200 feet, I don't think it'd be a flag lot anymore, right, Jen?
Correct.
Right, but because
Oh,
of
'cause it-
the narrowness of the access point, that's what's creating the flag pole.
Why you got the pointer over there?
Mark, you may wanna watch what he's.
So,
Mark,
No,
you
you may
gotta
wanna
see
stand
this.
up so you see what he's pointing to.
I won't put it in. So,
Wasn't a warning.
so right here is R40A, right? See, I got that?
Yes,
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
And right here is R40A,
correct.
and right here is R40J.
correct.
So the only thing, if that were R40A, that would be.
Is the 50 feet.
Was the 50 feet, right? Okay.
And Jen, can I just ask you, what's the rationale for the extra 10 feet? Like from 50 to 40, like what's
I
the,
mean, I think it's more kind of like providing access, like legitimate, safe access, right?
Yeah, most streets are set up, roadway network is set up with a 50-foot right-of-way with your cartway varying in width. So your 50 feet gives you the appearance of at least a right-of-way that would go down a normal development area. So it gives you enough room if you were to, depending on what's happening in the back, 20, 25, 30-foot wide cartway. It does give you room on either side, 10 feet on either side for grading, utilities, et cetera. But that's usually where the 50 feet comes from.
And what's the size of the existing driveway now?
It's 12 feet, I believe.
So it's 12 feet now, and if this were approved, it would be 40 feet.
The
Well,
right of way.
30.
The right of way would be 40 feet.
So how would how wide would the driveway have to be? 18 feet.
And it's 12 now.
Now, just for the record, I mentioned earlier. One of the development alternatives, whether we do a cul-de-sac, even if we were to run a cul-de-sac through the middle or around the outside or whatever, we have the ability to construct what they call a rural lane or a rural street. On the residential site improvement standards, I don't know if it's spelled out in the ordinance or not, but on the residential site improvement standards, we have the ability to construct a right-of-way, a public right-of-way that's only 40 feet wide with an 18-foot wide cartway. And that would service.
3 lots instead of 1.
That would service all 3 lots, and that's 100% legitimate and conforming. So that's why I'm a little bit confused why the 50-foot's so important to a singular driveway, when in essence it would prohibit or preclude maybe adding another lot to it in the back. I think it's even spelled out in that ordinance, like if you ever were to add a second driveway to that, you know, you'd have to do some other improvements or whatnot, but I would almost feel that the 40-foot width or the narrow width would preclude you from trying to get another lot from that in the future, because you only got a 40-foot wide drive, 18-foot wide. I mean, I don't write the rules, but an 18-foot wide road is pretty narrow in my book. And I grew up out in western Pennsylvania, where there's a lot of them too, but that's beside the point. But just for the record, I want it to be known, because 50 feet isn't the be-all and end-all as it relates to road design standards.
But that's not what you're proposing.
Nope, absolutely not. Nope. I don't want to confuse, you know, again, we're not taking,
Right, so
you know.
that's not what's being proposed.
No,
What's
but-
being proposed
but it-
is a flag lot with a driveway undersized, correct?
right, that's what in the
Yes.
variance, yeah.
Right.
All right, does anyone else on the board have any questions? I guess we can open up to the public.
Over there.
Yeah. All right, so at this time, if there's anyone from the public wants to come up, is it questions or comments? Questions first. Okay, so, yes, sir?
Patrick Truskita, 56 Line Road. Do you have to swear me in?
No, for comments, we
No,
That's a question of the witness. right
Correct.
now. You can comment later after this period.
Yeah.
okay. Do you have to swear me
No.
in?
No, we'll do that for,
Okay.
only for.
Comments.
For comments.
These are just
Okay.
questions.
My question relates to stormwater management. Okay, that piece of property I'm very familiar with is the second highest point in Monmouth County first highest point being Crawford Hill. That is the top of the hill. So the steep slopes is draining at some point down Line Road, down to Van Brackle, and down to north towards Holmdel Park. Mike, as someone who lives downstream on this,
Yeah.
my question is, are you going to look at the stormwater management impact of the downstream? Because we, at the lower end of Line Road, we've been inundated by water coming down that's been increasing much more as the decades have gone.
So,
Come
so,
on.
yeah, we could, so the answer is first is yes, but you could explain why, what you would do for stormwater management when the individual houses come in for a building permit.
That is correct. Our plan currently before you does not increase the impervious coverage, so as it's proposed, we don't have any proposal for any stormwater management systems.
Correct.
However, if we were to construct any new homes, whether it's 1, 2, or 3, whatever, how many number of
Or
homes,
8.
each of those lots have to, or each of those homes have to be handled independently with stormwater management collection and recharge systems, or
Okay.
management systems.
I just want to point out that it's incredibly steep slopes. You have the largest hill in Monmouth County of Line Road, and you have the topology. There's no topology maps here, but I believe that the center line is somewhere in that lot, that it drains down Line Road and then up Line Road on the other side, and then down to Van Brackle
Right,
on
and
the
we're
third
not
side.
touching any of the steep slopes, so there's no disturbance
But
near
you're,
that.
but when it does come to the percent of impervious material, that has to be taken into consideration.
Yeah, I mean, for this point, I guess we'd like
For
to
this
try and
point-
keep these questions
Right.
on point for what we're here to discuss. But anything, I'm pretty sure that whatever gets finally approved, all those things will
Okay.
be considered,
Okay,
I'm sure.
thank you.
And
Yeah.
as Bob said, it'll have to go through his office
Correct.
when they build, come in for new houses.
Apologies if my question is too early.
No, that's fine,
Nope,
that's
that's
fine.
fine.
Thank you. Okay.
Hi, I'm Ann Weldon. I am the flag lot that you're all talking about to the left of the proposed building.
No, we're not talking about your flag lot. They're
No, no,
Oh,
I'm
no,
just
she
saying
knows,
that's
yeah.
where,
That's where you
looking
live.
at the map.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah,
looking
okay.
at it. You were saying that if the variances are not approved, the cul-de-sac, is it going to buff it up against my driveway
No.
now?
There is
No.
no proposal for
There's no
that.
proposal
So
for
there's
that.
nothing for that? So
Nope.
that's something that will come
Nope.
eventually?
That would have to come.
That-
This
just for the
Well,
is
record.
not approved.
Jen,
No, just
one
saying.
at a time. Jen, let's,
I'm
No.
just saying you're,
No,
if
just-
if this gets rejected, the cul-de-sac,
No.
it's a whole new.
No, just for the
proposal.
record, the cul-de-sac idea was one of the development alternatives that we explored. We opted not to propose that, and we opted to propose this
Understand.
flag lot scenario.
Gotcha.
So there is no proposal, and there is no one's,
Planning
I don't want to say
that would
anyone's,
be another
I don't want,
submission
well,
or-
if it were ever to happen.
If it happens,
No,
okay.
but
just
but
trying to
please don't
clarify.
think it's, I mean,
No, I'm just trying to understand what other
No.
options for.
No, but I think that's a fair question. If we talked about a conforming plan, I think she wants to know that with the conforming plan,
I had provided, in the plan that I had conceived, I had provided for a buffer strip between the edge of the property and the road itself. It
They would
varied.
have to come back though.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
right,
it's all good.
okay.
No, but we're not proposing it, but just
No,
to
just
answer the
saying.
question, I'm just saying, I wouldn't do that. I know enough about that, hey, we're not gonna do that, but so in my conceptual plan that I did in evaluating the development of this property, there was a cul-de-sac towards that northern side of the property, but it provided for a buffer strip between that
Existing.
hypothetical cul-de-sac and that property line.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Louise Poole, and I own the property 2 Tilton Place, which is one of the neighbors within the 200 feet for this proposed development. The last spring, when we first heard about it, I went canvass door to door and got 50 of the neighbors to
Well, is this gonna be a question or a statement?
I just was kind of saying who I was, okay? So I've canvassed 50 neighbors in trying to, we'll call it somewhat,
Just,
fight a little
I'm
bit of
just
this.
going to object, because you can't
Oh, I'm
test,
sorry.
you can't talk about what you've discussed with other people without them all being here, so
Oh,
we
no,
can
no,
ask
I
them
wasn't.
questions.
I just was kind of saying who I was. But I'll hit I'll hit that I think most of the neighbors, but maybe I can't say that, would prefer the least number of houses built as possible.
Well, once again,
Okay,
let's,
me.
we
I-
know who
No,
you
you're
are, we know
supposed to
your
ask them
address. Just
questions.
ask
I
the
know,
witness a
that's
question.
interesting.
You can have a comment later and put all this on the record.
Granting a flagged lot to the existing house at 39 Line Road is approved. What my husband and I will say are worried about is now you're approving it as a flag lot and a driveway. Worried in the future, would you then ask for it to be a road and for more houses to be
No.
developed on
No,
that?
we would agree, if this were approved, we would agree to a deed restriction that this property in total could not be subdivided again. So you could, the 3 lots, if they are created, will be capped at 3 lots.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, nobody ever said that's great when I answered.
Thank you.
You're advocating for 3.
Oh, no, I'm, that's great for the deed restriction. The deed restriction, so we don't have to all be here again
I don't think it's
in
gonna
the
be a
future.
deed restriction, I think it's
Okay.
gonna be a condition of approval.
Yeah, but the only way to have it run through with the land for a subsequent owner would be to have something recorded in the county clerk's office, so a new buyer would know they
So
can't come
you
back.
would
That you
agree
can.
to a deed restriction?
Yeah.
Okay.
Say that's great, Jen.
I'm not saying anything's great, Al.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
That ain't happening, my friend.
Anyone else? Going once, going twice, okay, now we're opening for comments. Did you have something, you wanna have a question?
I, sort of a question, sort of a comment.
Well,
I'll be
only
as-
question now,
Yeah,
then we'll do
question.
comment. Just state your name and address.
Hi, I'm Chris Cadwell. I live at 19 Goldsmith Drive. So there's been a lot of talk about a hypothetical conforming 3-lot subdivision. If I were making the case for a flag lot, instead of that, I might have brought that as an example. Why did you not bring that as part of your case?
It's a mistaken judgment, that's all. I could have, I should have, but I didn't. I chose not to. My mistake.
Okay, before I close the questions, anyone else? All right, now it's comments. Anyone have a comment they wish to put on the record? Okay, now you have to be sworn.
It's me again.
Just raise your hand, Chris.
Yeah.
We swear you in now. Anybody for the public, anybody who makes a comment, we swear in for the record. You swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? Correct?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
I have prepared remarks. As a concerned abutter, I do not propose development in general or necessarily for a flag lot on a neighboring property. However, I strongly encourage the board to consider if 2 or 3 lots is appropriate, and for any future development of the mother lot and any second phase of development to be restricted. I encourage the town to request a confirming subdivision of 3 lots with complete plans, as this would allow for the town to assess all the overall impact and decide what's best for the town and for the community. By reviewing a more complete, comprehensive subdivision plan, the town would be able to make an informed decision that takes into account the long-term interests of the neighborhood, environmental sustainability, and infrastructure capacity. I'd also like to voice concerns about the future development beyond what's proposed here, that could pose a serious environmental risk, including inadequate stormwater management to my neighbor. Additionally, increased development that would negatively impact the privacy, aesthetics, and appeal of surrounding homes, and potentially lowering all of our property values. Moreover, the riparian zone on the property is a vital ecological resource that must be preserved. I strongly urge the board to consider a formal inclusion of all land within that riparian zone to be put into an irrevocable conservation easement. This would provide long-term protection for these sensitive areas, ensuring, I'm a little nervous. Ensuring that they remain undisturbed and safeguarded from future development. While I don't oppose development in general, I encourage and urge the board to ensure any approval comes with strict conditions that prevent future subdivision or development of the property in the form of a deed restriction or conservation easement. That's all I got.
Thanks, Chris. You did great.
You did good.
Okay, anyone else? Yes, sir, come on up. Be sworn. Again.
All right, may I have a secular affirmation?
You affirm everything you say is the truth?
Yes. Thank you. Patrick Trisquita, 56 Line Road. I'd like to comment that anything the board does will minimize the impact to stormwater drainage. So you look at that when doing the zoning. Two lots has more, two new lots have more impervious surfaces than one lot, even with the pools and all the other things taken into account. As the Line Road, that is a very, very sensitive area. We have flooding problems on both sides of Line Road, and every storms, and it's getting worse with time. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else before I close comments? Okay, now what we can.
We'll discuss.
So, Mr. Chair, can I just, before
sure.
you deliberate,
Yeah.
if the board wants to see a conforming plan, we're willing to come back with one, not to apply for one, but just to demonstrate to the board, if you don't like the flag and you like the other plan, we'll amend the application and do that. If that's, we'd consider it. I don't know if they'll do it. I'd have to talk to the client, but I don't know if you need to see that in order to make a decision, is what I'm suggesting.
Well, look, I think it would certainly help me. I don't know if I'm in the minority here, but, right, just to look at both we're just doing our due diligence, if it's not that much of an effort.
That would include the public road then, right?
Yes.
Yes. Or, you don't.
I don't need it.
You don't need it? Wes? If I'm in the minority, I'll forgo it, but.
My sense is to reject the proposal. I defer to our planner to the extent that if the third lot were eliminated, then why flag lots are not permitted, that was not my decision, somebody else's decision. The fact that they exist in other locations, that's irrelevant. The fact that 8 homes could possibly be proposed here is irrelevant. I think we're squeezing something into a box that box isn't big enough to handle. So I don't see the benefit of Holmdel to allow this 3 lots rather than 2.
Well, I think what he's saying is, and correct me if I'm wrong, that they could provide a conforming plan with 3 lots, but that would involve the additional public roads, which would be added maintenance costs to the town, right? And stormwater and all that stuff. So, there is some benefit. I mean, I know there's probably a benefit to them somehow. I'm still trying to figure out what it is. But, there's certainly a benefit to the town financially.
Yeah, there's taxes for the third lot, right?
Yeah.
So there is a benefit to the town.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't have to maintain a road
With this.
with this application.
Yeah. I mean, do we deliberate in just front of everyone, or how does that work?
You can.
Yeah.
I mean, you should get a sense
Yeah.
from the other 3 if they want to see that plan. I mean, it could help you, I mean, if they can show there are no variances, that could help you justify granting a variance on this application, not in addition to the things you mentioned. So, but if you don't need it, obviously, then make a motion to approve it or not. But I don't know what.
Yeah, I mean, look, for me, you know, I personally don't understand why it's not acceptable here, but it's acceptable 100 feet away, across the street. Just because it's written that way, that's why there's variances, to discuss site-specific types of situations. You know, even the way I read the rule says under certain circumstances, it is okay. It's not like an absolute standard, a requirement. You know, maybe I just need to know a little bit more about that. It's not, I know we're always big on the bucolic effects of this town, right? And how it's, I don't think it's gonna affect us from that standpoint.
I think if they're willing to show you what is allowed and conforming and why this may be a better alternative on the record, that may be the best option for you
Yes.
guys to say, I get where you're coming from, right? I do. But if you saw we could do this conforming and this is what it would be, which is not a better scenario, it would help you guys to say, granting this relief is a better alternative,
Yeah.
right? I think
100%. That's kind of where my head
right?
was
I
from the
think-
beginning, is I need to
think
understand
so.
why.
So you're willing to come back and provide us with this conforming
Yes.
option,
Yes.
right?
Yes, and in either event, we would have the conservation easement that was described, we
Yeah,
have the deed
I
restriction
think-
against future subdivision, no
But
matter
yeah,
what
if,
you saw.
hey, look,
I
I'm not,
think that's
yeah.
for you guys a better option. At least see it.
Yeah, I mean, look,
right?
I look at this letter from, what's WJH, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a one-page letter that just explains, I want a variance, and that's basically it.
No, but I think, like, listen, I'm not a huge advocate of this kind of variance, right?
Yes.
Right, and I agree with Mr. Fagan to 100%. However, I also agree with Mr. Emma. If the answer is, this is a better alternative than the town taking on another road, but let's see it.
No, agree, that's why
Right?
that's what I was saying before, I'm trying to understand where the benefits are. So if I can see the two plans, and I
Correct.
can have a nice written description of why it's beneficial to the town, maybe
As
there's.
well as a visual,
Yes.
like, this is gonna be a road that we have to take care of at X, Y, Z, whatever, right? Which they could potentially provide,
Yes.
and why this alternative is a better alternative. They should provide it to you, so when you're making that decision, it's based upon legitimate data in front of you.
Yeah, and if you could, yeah, Jen, that's exactly kind of where my head was at.
Right?
What do you guys think? What, you guys are kind of quiet down there. What do you guys, what's your initial thoughts?
I can see it both ways, honestly. My concern about a proposed road that the town takes over is obviously the cost down the road, and also the impact to the neighbor who is gonna have a 50-foot buffer along their potential property line that she may or may not want.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's,
Yeah.
both of those are weighing on my mind. Mr. Euro obviously talked about the 50 as opposed to 40-foot width on that flag lot driveway. I'm up in the air with it, honestly. I can see the use for both.
Yeah, and you know, if this, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Tom.
My thought is, I see the problem where, I don't know why you need a 50-foot right-of-way for one driveway going to the house. 50-foot right-of-way when you can have 40-foot right.
That's what we're talking about at 10 feet is what we're talking about.
Right.
Between two lots or one lot, we're talking 10 feet. Plus, we'd have to maintain a public road.
Let's remember, everything we do here always involves numbers and offsets, and what's 5 feet, what's 10 feet, what's 500 feet versus 300 feet on the other road, you know?
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. So, you know, if you could do exactly what Jen said, it'd be helpful for me, and it sounds like it'll be helpful for others too that are on the fence. And, you know, some of the concerns today about drainage and things like that, maybe those are things that can be addressed in the two options. Maybe one option will alleviate some of the issues that Line Road's currently having with some of the stormwater runoff, and, you know, maybe consider that as well.
Can I ask a question to one of the members of the audience that made a comment before? No?
If they made a comment, they
They-
can be cross-examined, but you can
I,
comment.
to the homeowner that is just to the north, that has that flag lot, would, I mean, they had a question. The question was about the alternate plans. Could I ask her, her opinion, or no?
No, she didn't make a comment.
I wouldn't, I wouldn't.
You could make your own.
I would be interested to, because it's gonna affect the homeowner that's directly adjacent to the property if they went with the additional, the alternate plan.
Not yet.
No, it's closed, it's closed.
But if you saw the alternate plan, that would be the appropriate time for
But I
her to
think,
comment.
I
or for
think
you to
if they
comment.
presented you guys with the alternative plan, that would be something you could
Okay.
engage
Okay.
with the surrounding properties. So that's why I would advise you to say, yes, we will give you the option to present this to us before you guys act on it, to justify in their mind, not in your mind, but in their mind, what they're requesting. And therefore, you guys could at least have the data to make the decision.
So, Mr. Zamina, right?
Zelina, yes.
Yes, sir.
How long would it take for you to put together this
So
document?
Can we just clarify something? What we don't want to do is do a fully engineered
No.
stormwater management
No,
system.
no, no,
right?
no, no, yeah.
Right.
Agreed.
Good, so he said 2 weeks to me. I don't know if he's just
Okay.
saying
Right?
it to you.
It's just a concept plan.
Because I've,
Just a
it's-
concept plan.
Yeah.
It's been sketched out, I could present it nice
Yeah.
graphically, so it's acceptable to the board and the audience here in a matter of a couple of weeks, so.
I would suggest just a concept plan to show you what it would look like. If it's something you would, if you would engage in, then they would have to go back and deal with it. But if you're like, it's
Well, look, if we
not
see the
better-
conceptual plan and we're
Right,
okay
but
with the other
if
way,
it's not the better alternative and
Yeah.
this is the better alternative, let's not have them go down that road of going through
okay.
detailed engineering.
I'll just add for the board, as Mr. Zamino, I mean, from a resolution perspective, which is what I care about, protecting this board's ultimate decision. Have that plan, make sure you call out if there are, hopefully none, but as you said, but any variances, obviously, because that'll help this board make a decision on this application. That's, to me, is one of the critical things that'll help, you know, when we ultimately decide. So if there are variances, you know, obviously,
Oh, we
call
have-
them out, and Bob will look at it too, but
I agree, yeah.
Yes, so, Mr. Chair, the only thing I would require is, whenever a date is chosen, that whatever concept is gonna be prepared, that it be submitted to Courtney, so it can be distributed far enough in advance, so Jen and I can at least review it.
Yeah.
And have some sort of comments.
Well, how much time do you
I don't want
need,
them
Bob?
walking in the night of a meeting.
We agree.
Right, I mean,
December 17th is the soonest that they could get on anything.
okay, all right, that's plenty of time. I just asked that you,
Summer,
how many weeks do you need, Bob, to review it?
I'll
So
get it
Jan-
reviewed in a week.
Me too.
As soon as it's turned in, we'll turn it around.
Okay,
But December seems to work.
December's the only,
Yeah.
December 17th is the,
That works.
is that date.
That's fine, so we just request, we'll provide plenty of time for them to review it and to give input, and we may come back and forth with them to make sure we're all comfortable. And we ask, assuming that it's acceptable to you, to carry it to that date without the need to further notice the public.
Oh, yeah. We'll carry that without further notice here.
Just that you'll make the announcement.
When he's ready to do that.
Yes.
Yep. I would just say too, just unless I don't want to overstep, Scott, you, maybe also discuss with Bob that the rural lane standards, if you're proposing them on the new one or this
Oh,
one,
he'll be fine, right?
you know, get whatever information you
Yeah.
have. Not that he doesn't know it already, but get that to him and us, so,
100%.
you know, we have that information.
Full
as well.
disclosure, we want everyone to have all the information so we can come to a decision next week.
yes,
Two questions. Are you guys gonna want to see if it was just 2 lots versus the 1 lot, the 2 conforming, not the cul-de-sac?
That's what we're asking them
Yeah.
for. The cul-de-sac design.
Cul-de-sac,
The cul-de-sac
She's talking about a minor subdivision,
It's-
No.
They're
Yeah.
getting they're asking for the conforming development project proposal that would have 3 total lots, 2 new, 1 existing house.
Correct. No, but I'm saying there's the other
That hasn't been, they're not asking for that. They could do that without seeing a concept.
Okay. Then my other, will you?
But we can't tell
will
them to
you
do that.
notify the public?
This is your notification.
Yeah, December 17th.
December 17th?
Mark your calendar.
In 1 minute, the chair will announce that it's gonna be carried to December 17th without further
Scott,
notice.
get on
So
it.
this is your notice.
Yeah.
This is your notice at 7 o'clock.
The plans will be available, so you, at least 10 days ahead of time, so you can go upstairs to Courtney's office and get a copy.
Okay, so what do we do now, Marty? This is the part I was missing. So what do we do now? We make
So
a,
just,
make a,
just agree,
All right,
agree
so-
to carry it to December 17th.
do we need to make a motion on that or no?
Yeah. You can do a motion.
It's just a motion, just to,
I like informal motion.
okay, so we're gonna carry this to 17th of December. The applicant is gonna provide the conceptual plans and the descriptions, right? Talking about pluses and minuses, whatever, and, at least 10 days before, and,
And no further public notice.
yeah, no further public notices on this. Okay, now I'll just go to the next one. We're good?
That's it, yeah.
Okay, so you guys, I guess.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sal. Thank you,
Good night.
Mark. All right, and we just got a memorializing resolution. Item number 2, PB 2020-01 Barclay Square at Holmdel.
Guys, we're
Oh, still in meeting, so, yeah. PB 2020-01 Barclay Square at Holmdel LLC, Palmer Avenue, Block 52, Lots 17 and 18, extension of time. Applicant granted a second one-year extension of the preliminary and final major site plan approval memorialized on July 20th, 2021. Right?
Yeah, and that was just granting that second one-year extension. There's no conditions or anything.
And,
Just a formality.
yeah. Any professional reports today? No? Real good? Oh, we do? Okay, sorry. Thought we voted on it. Okay, roll call, I guess.
You approved it at the hearing, now we're approving the resolution.
Oh, okay. Motion to
Second.
approve? Yeah. Yeah, I'll do one.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Okay, no professional reports at this time, so I guess, we're adjourned. See you, have a good Thanksgiving, everyone, so we won't be here. Go Mets. Go Mets, just throwing that out there on the record.
Good night, guys.